He shocked her the moment she arrived. "Will you be mother to my girls?" Before we begin, let me know where you're watching from. I want to see how far this video has reached. I love seeing that. The wind was sharp that morning, slicing across the Wyoming plains without mercy. Emma Caldwell pushed through it anyway, clutching the single bag that carried the last pieces of her life. Dust clung to her boots. Hope kept her moving. She had walked miles to reach the Remington ranch. People whispered about the man who lived there, Elias Remington, a widowed rancher with 2 little girls. Quiet, hard-working, worn down by life. Emma expected a normal request for work. Maybe a cold no. Maybe a long walk back into nowhere. She didn't expect what came next. Elias opened the door before she could knock twice. Taller than she imagined. Shoulders built from years of ranch work. Eyes lined with exhaustion and something heavier, loneliness. Emma drew a breath. "Sir, I came to ask if—" He cut her off in one stunning moment. "Can you be a mother to my girls?" No greeting. No hesitation. Just those words. Emma froze. Behind him, 2 small faces peeked from the hallway. Curious, scared, and desperately hoping someone might stay. "So you don't even know me," she whispered. Elias stood firm. "I know enough. They need someone gentle. Someone steady. And I don't have time to pretend otherwise." Emma's pulse stumbled. She came for a job. He offered her a role that could change everything. From behind Elias, the youngest girl whispered, "Daddy, is she staying?" That broke Emma open in places she thought were long dead. She opened her mouth to speak, but a deep rumble cut across the plains. Not thunder. Hoofbeats. Something, or someone, was riding toward the ranch fast. The hoofbeats grew louder, fast. Too fast to be casual. Too heavy to be friendly. Emma stepped back instinctively. Elias didn't move. He just narrowed his eyes toward the open field stretching past the barn. "Get inside," he said quietly. Not harsh. Not panicked. Just a man used to danger, used to protecting what mattered. Emma hesitated for half a second, then slipped past him into the house. The 2 little girls clung to her skirt like they'd known her for years, not seconds. The smaller one, Lily, looked up at her with wide, frightened eyes. "Is it the men from town again?" Emma's stomach tightened. She didn't know what that meant, but the fear in the girl's voice said plenty. Outside, the rider finally came into view. One man, dark coat, fast horse, purpose in every stride. Elias stepped off the porch and walked toward the edge of the yard, boots crunching on dry earth. Emma watched through the window, pulse racing. She barely knew this man, but something about the way he carried himself made her nervous for reasons she couldn't name. The rider pulled up hard, dust exploding around the horse's hooves. "Remington," the man shouted. "We need a word." Elias didn't flinch. "You're on my land, Carter. Say it quick." "Carter." The name meant nothing to Emma, but the tension in Elias's jaw said everything. Carter pointed toward the barn. "Your cattle broke the fence again. They wandered onto Jacob's property. He's furious. He's riding down here tonight, and he ain't in a polite mood." Elias didn't move, didn't blink. Emma whispered, "Is he in trouble?" The older girl, Grace, answered in a small voice. "People always come here mad. Daddy says it's because some folks don't like a rancher raising 2 girls alone." Emma felt her chest ache. Outside, Carter leaned in closer. "You'd better fix it before Jacob gets here. He's been drinking since dawn." Then Carter looked toward the house window and spotted Emma standing with the girls. His brow lifted. "You finally hired someone?" Elias didn't look back. "Maybe." Emma felt the weight of that single word. "Maybe." Carter snorted. "Well, good luck then. You're going to need it." He kicked his horse and thundered away. The moment he vanished over the ridge, Elias finally turned back toward the house. He walked in, shut the door behind him, and looked straight at Emma. "I'm sorry you saw that," he said. "This ranch comes with trouble." Emma's voice was soft but steady. "I've known trouble before. That doesn't scare me." Elias studied her again, a little differently this time. not as a stranger begging for work, but as someone who might actually stay. "So," he said quietly, "about what I asked you earlier." Emma's breath caught. Was he really about to bring that up again now? But before he could finish the sentence, something slammed against the back of the house. A sound that froze all three of them. The thud against the back wall shook the entire house. Emma gasped. Lily grabbed her hand tighter. Grace stepped in front of her little sister like she'd done it 100 times. Elias moved first. He didn't rush, didn't panic, just crossed the room with the steady, heavy steps of a man who had survived more storms than he bothered counting. "Stay here," he said. Emma almost obeyed, but something in her refused to stand still while danger pressed against the walls. She followed him halfway, stopping only when he shot her a look, firm but not angry. The second slam was louder, metal against wood. Elias swung open the back door. A broken fence post lay on the ground. But that wasn't what caused the noise. A wild steer, one of his own, had rammed itself into the house. Panicked, snorting, froth at its mouth. The cattle trouble Carter warned about. This was only the start of it. Elias muttered under his breath. Damn, Jacob must have run it off with a bottle in his hand. The steer bucked again, hooves tearing up the dirt. Emma stepped beside him before she even realized she'd moved. "You can't handle that thing alone," she said. Elias stared at her, surprised, not because she spoke, but because she didn't sound afraid, not even a little. "You know how to work cattle?" he asked. She nodded once. "My daddy had a ranch in Kansas, before things went bad." That quiet pause told Elias more than any explanation. He grabbed a rope from the wall. "All right, we're going to guide it back toward the paddock. Slow. Steady. Stay on my right." Emma didn't argue. They stepped into the yard together. The steer jerked, ready to charge. But Emma clapped sharply, drawing his attention. Her movements were controlled, calm, confident. She wasn't bluffing. She actually knew what she was doing. Elias noticed. Hard not to. They circled the animal from opposite sides, tightening the angle. Emma whispered, "Easy, easy." The steer slowed, confused but no longer reckless. Elias threw the rope. Clean catch. Fast pull. A practice move. Together, they led the steer through the open gate and into the smaller corral. The moment the latch clicked shut, Emma let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Elias leaned on the fence, watching her with a gaze that had shifted entirely. "You weren't lying," he said. "You really know ranch work." Emma brushed dust off her dress. "Told you I came here to help." He nodded slowly, but the look in his eyes wasn't about work anymore. It was the look of a man realizing this woman might be the exact kind of strength he'd been praying for, without admitting it. Before he could say anything, Grace called from the doorway, "Daddy, there's a wagon coming down the road." Elias's face hardened instantly. He stepped closer to Emma. If that's Jacob, this day's far from over. The wagon rolled closer, wheels grinding over dry earth. Slow, heavy, a bad sign already. Emma stepped beside Elias without thinking. She didn't know this land's politics yet, but she understood one thing. Whoever came down that road wasn't bringing good news. Grace and Lily stayed on the porch, gripping the railing like it held the whole house together. The wagon stopped a few yards away. Jacob Miller climbed down, mid-50s, red-faced, angry even without speaking, the kind of man who let bourbon talk louder than his brain. He didn't glance at Emma, didn't look at the girls, just stomped toward Elias. "You can explain why your damn cattle keep trampling my land?" Elias stayed calm. Too calm. "Jacob, your fence line cuts through open range." The steer panicked. "That's all." Jacob snorted. Convenient excuse. Emma could smell the liquor on him from yards away. Jacob's eyes finally landed on her, sharp and dismissive. "And who's this? Another drifter your feet in?" Emma didn't drop her gaze. "Just someone trying to work." Jacob smirked. "Well, sweetheart, this ranch already has enough problems. Best you keep your distance from Em." Elias stepped forward, his voice dropping. "She's here as my guest." That wiped the smirk clean off Jacob's face. "Oh," Since when do you take in strays, Remington? You barely talk to folks in town. Emma noticed Elias's jaw clench, but she also noticed something else. He didn't back down. Fence will be fixed by sundown, Elias said. Now go home. Jacob took one slow step toward him. You don't get to order me around. Emma moved before her brain caught up. She stepped between them. Jacob blinked, thrown off. You got a death wish, girl? No, she said, steady as stone. I just don't see any point in two grown men yelling about something that can be fixed in an hour. Jacob barked a laugh. Feisty, aren't you? He hiring you to talk back for him? Elias spoke low. Jacob, get off my land. Jacob stared for a long, ugly second, then turned toward his wagon. But just before climbing up, he pointed at Elias with a shaky hand. You fix that fence, and you keep your animals off my side. Next time, I won't be coming to talk. He drove off, wheels spitting dust into the air. Silence settled over the yard, the kind that always follows when trouble leaves, but promises it'll return. Elias let out a slow breath and looked at Emma. You shouldn't have stepped in like that, he said. Emma crossed her arms. You're welcome. He almost smiled. Almost. You're bold. Bold keeps people alive. Their eyes held each other's for a second too long. Then Lily's small voice drifted from the porch. Daddy's you going to stay now? Emma felt her heartbeat jump. Elias hesitated. And in that hesitation, Emma realized he didn't know the answer yet. Neither did she. Elias didn't answer Lily's question right away. He just stood there, breathing steady, eyes lingering on Emma like he was weighing something heavy inside himself. Emma felt the pressure of that silence. Not in a romantic way, in a life-changing way. Finally, he said, Let's get inside. We all need a minute. The girls hurried in first. Emma followed, her paws still buzzing from stepping between two angry men. Elias closed the door behind them, the wood thudding like a quiet warning. Inside, the house felt warmer than outside, but not comfortable. Not yet. Elias poured water into a tin cup and set it in front of Emma. You handled that steer better than most men I've hired, he said, and you stood your ground with Jacob. But I need to know something. He paused. A long one. Why are you really here, Emma? She swallowed. The question dug deep, but she was done hiding from the truth. I had nothing left in Kansas, she said softly. My father passed. The ranch got taken. People I trusted, they didn't stay loyal once the land was gone. Her voice wavered, not from weakness, but from old wounds tearing open. So I walked, she continued, town to town, looking for work, looking for a place that didn't spit me back out. Elias listened without interrupting, really listened. And when I heard your ranch needed help, Emma said, I thought maybe it was time to stop running. He leaned back, eyes steady. You weren't scared when Jacob raised his voice. I faced worse than loud men. Elias let out a slow breath. I believe you. Grace tugged on Emma's sleeve. Do you know how to cook biscuits? She asked shyly. Lily chimed in. And braids? Mama used to braid our hair. Emma's chest tightened, not from sadness, from the weight of what these two little girls had lived without. She kneeled down to their height. I can try both, Emma said. I'm not perfect, but I don't give up easy. The girls lit up like someone had handed them summer in a jar. Elias noticed. Every bit of it. He cleared his throat. We should eat. Long day ahead. Then he added quieter, and I need help fixing that fence. Emma nodded. I'll be there. But just as they all started toward the kitchen, a sudden bang rattled the front window. Lily screamed. Grace grabbed her. Elias rushed to the door. Emma followed. Outside, pinned to the fence post, was a note flapping in the wind. A threat, written in angry, uneven letters. Stay off my land. Next time, I won't miss. Emma's blood ran cold. Jacob wasn't done. Not even close. Elias tore the note off the fence, jaw tight enough to crack stone. Emma stood beside him, the wind tugging at her dress, the girls watching from the doorway with wide, frightened eyes. Jacob's message wasn't just anger. It was a promise. Emma broke the silence first. He's drunk and reckless. But that kind of threat, he meant it. Elias folded the paper in half, then in half again, like he was trying to crush the words. I've dealt with Jacob for years. He growls, he blames, he drinks, but he's never crossed a line like this. Emma didn't let him sugarcoat it. He just did. Elias looked at her, and for the first time that day, she saw something raw in his eyes. Not fear, responsibility. A heavy one. He took a breath. I need to fix that fence before sundown. If his cattle mix with mine, he'll use it as an excuse to start something. I'm coming with you, Emma said. He shook his head. No, you stay here with the girls. She didn't raise her voice, didn't argue, just stepped in front of him. You need help, and you know it. Elias stared at her for a long moment, not in irritation, but in reluctant agreement. He finally nodded. Fine, but stay close. She grabbed work gloves from a hook by the door. He didn't comment on it, but she caught the flicker of surprise on his face. This wasn't some fragile wanderer. She'd been shaped by loss and survival, and he was beginning to see the difference. They headed toward the fence line together. The girls watched from the porch until they disappeared down the path. The field was quiet. Too quiet. Elias knelt by the broken section of fence and started gathering fallen posts. Emma held the rails, steady while he drove them into the ground. Minutes passed in a tense rhythm, hammering, lifting, tightening. Then Emma spoke softly. You meant what you asked me earlier, didn't you? Elias didn't look up. I don't waste words. She steadied another post. Why say it to a stranger? This time he paused. Because I'm raising two girls who need more than a tired man in an empty house, he said quietly. And because I saw something in you. Strength, steadiness. You didn't flinch today. Emma swallowed hard. It wasn't flattery. It was truth. Plain, heavy truth. Before she could answer, Elias froze. Footprints. Fresh ones. Deep in the dirt along the fence. Not hoof prints. Boots. Someone had been there less than an hour ago, and they weren't Elias's. Emma's breath tightened. He was watching the house. Elias scanned the horizon, his expression darkening. This isn't about cattle anymore. Footsteps snapped the grass behind them. Not close, but close enough. Emma whispered, "We're not alone." Elias turned slightly, lowering his voice. "Stay behind me, and stay calm." The footsteps grew clearer. Someone was approaching from the tree line. Elias didn't raise his fists, didn't reach for a weapon. He just shifted his stance, placed himself between Emma and the approaching sound. Protective, steady, controlled. Emma stayed behind him, not because she was helpless, but because she trusted he knew this land's dangers better than she did. The footsteps slowed near the tree line. A shadow moved, then a man stepped out. Not Jacob, not a stranger with violence in his eyes. It was Carter, the same rider from earlier, hat in hand, breathing harder than he should have been after a short walk. Elias's shoulders eased, but only a fraction. "What are you doing back?" Carter glanced over his shoulder, scanning the trees like he expected someone else to appear. "I came to warn you," he said. "Jacob's drunk enough to make bad choices. He's been pacing town talking like you're the enemy." Emma folded her arms. "What did he say?" Carter hesitated. "Stuff I don't like repeating. But he's angry about more than the cattle. Says you're trying to build yourself a new family and flaunt it in his face." Emma went cold. One conversation on a porch, and men in town think they can judge that? Carter looked at her, really looked, like he was trying to figure out who she was and why Elias let her stand so close. "Ma'am, Jacob ain't stable right now, and he ain't thinking clear." Elias's voice hardened. "I'm not looking for trouble. I just want my girls safe." Carter nodded. "That's why I came. I thought you should know. Jacob hitched his wagon again after I left. Said he was heading your way tonight." Emma felt her pulse jump, but Elias didn't panic. Not even a ripple. "When?" he asked. "After sundown. He's mad enough to show up just to scream. Maybe more if he keeps drinking." Carter rubbed the back of his neck. "I told him to sleep it off. He didn't listen." Elias exhaled, long and controlled. "All right. Thank you." Carter turned to leave, then paused and looked at Emma again. You sure you want to stay out here? This place ain't exactly peaceful lately. Emma didn't blink. I'm not scared of a loud man with bad judgment. Carter gave a tiny smirk. Yeah, I see that now. He disappeared into the trees as quietly as he'd come. Silence rolled in behind him. Elias looked at Emma, not with fear, but with a question. You still want this job, he said quietly, knowing what comes with it. Emma stepped closer, dust on her boots, hair tossed by the wind, eyes steady as the land around them. I didn't walk across states just to run, because one man is angry. Elias watched her like he was absorbing every word. Then he said something he hadn't dared say before, not even to himself. You'd be good for them. Grace and Lily. I see it. Emma felt those words more than she expected, like something heavy inside her finally had a place to rest. But before she could answer, a small voice echoed across the field. Daddy, Emma. Grace was running toward them, breathless. Emma crouched as the girl reached them. What is it, honey? Grace pointed back to the house. There's someone on the porch. Emma's stomach dropped. Elias straightened instantly. Not Jacob. Not Carter. Someone else. Standing still. Waiting. Elias didn't waste a second. He broke into a long stride toward the house, Grace holding tight to Emma's hand as they followed. The porch came into view slowly, and the figure standing on it became clearer with each step. Not Jacob. Not a man at all. An older woman. Tall. Shoulders squared. Gray hair pulled into a tight knot. Her coat was travel-worn. Her boots were dusted white from long miles. Emma slowed. Grace squeezed her hand. Elias stepped ahead, voice low but steady. Mrs. Bishop, what are you doing out here? The woman turned. Sharp eyes, sharper tongue. The kind of person who'd survived frontier years without bending for anyone. I came to see if the rumors were true, she said, about you bringing another woman onto this ranch. Emma stiffened. But Elias didn't give her room to speak yet. He moved to the bottom of the porch steps. Emma's here to work. That's all. Mrs. Bishop raised an eyebrow. That's not what people in town are whispering. Emma stepped forward this time. She was done letting others speak for her. I walked here asking for a job. That's the truth. Mrs. Bishop studied her, eyes sweeping over the dusty dress, the gloves, the dirt on her sleeves from fence work. You look like you've been put to use already, she said. Emma didn't flinch. I work. That's what I came for. The older woman turned back to Elias. You know Jacob's stirring everyone up, don't you? He's been in the saloon half the day talking about how you're replacing your wife too fast. Elias's jaw tightened. Jacob doesn't tell my story. Mrs. Bishop didn't soften. You may not care what he says, but your girls hear things. The town hears things. And if he rides out here angry, alone or with company, you need to be ready. Emma stepped closer to the porch, voice calm. Is that why you're here? To warn him. Mrs. Bishop hesitated, the first crack in her steel demeanor. I'm here because his girls deserve better than danger on their doorstep, she said, and because Elias doesn't ask for help even when he needs it. Grace and Lily peeked from the doorway now, watching the strange woman with wary eyes. Mrs. Bishop softened just slightly at the sight of them. I delivered both of you, she murmured, and I've looked after this ranch since before you were born. Elias's voice lowered. So, what do you want from me? She looked at Emma again. I want to know, Mrs. Bishop said, if this woman plans on staying long enough to matter or leaving the moment things get hard. The words hit Emma like a direct blow. Not cruel, just truthful. And she respected truth. Emma stepped fully onto the porch, meeting the older woman's gaze head-on. I don't leave when things get hard, she said. That's why I'm still standing. Mrs. Bishop held her stare for several long seconds, then finally nodded once. Good, she said, because tonight might test that. Elias looked up sharply. Why? Mrs. Bishop glanced toward the darkening horizon. Because Jacob's not in town anymore, she said. He left an hour ago. Emma felt the air shift, and he was angry enough, Mrs. Bishop added, to be looking for you right now. The sun had slipped behind the far ridge, leaving the ranch wrapped in that uneasy blue light between day and night. The kind of light where every shadow looks like it's holding a secret. Elias closed the door behind them, steady but alert. Mrs. Bishop stepped inside without asking. She'd earned that right years ago. Emma helped Grace and Lily settle near the table, keeping them close, keeping them calm, even though her own pulse hadn't slowed since the warning. Elias lit a lamp. The warm glow made the room feel smaller, tighter. Mrs. Bishop removed her coat, her voice low and direct. He's not coming here to talk. He's coming because he wants a reaction. Drunk men look for someone to blame. Emma leaned against the counter. He blames Elias for things that aren't even his fault. Mrs. Bishop looked at her, really looked. People like Jacob don't need logic. They need a target. Elias rubbed a hand across the back of his neck. I don't want the girls scared. Emma stepped closer. They're not scared because of you. They're scared because he refuses to let a good man work in peace. Mrs. Bishop's eyes softened a bit toward Emma, like approval she didn't hand out often. Then she spoke again, quieter. We don't know what time he'll show up. Could be minutes, could be hours, but he'll come. Emma met Elias's eyes. She could see the weight he carried, protecting his daughters, managing a rant alone, and now an angry neighbor on a downhill spiral. Tell me what you need, she said. Elias hesitated, not because he didn't know the answer, but because he wasn't used to relying on anyone. Finally, he said, I need you near the girls. If Jacob shows up yelling, I need them calm. They listened to you already. Emma nodded once. I can do that. Lily tugged on Emma's sleeve. Are you staying with us tonight? She whispered. That small, fragile voice hit Emma harder than anything Jacob had thrown their way. She crouched down. Yes, I'm not going anywhere. Lily wrapped her arms around Emma's neck. Grace joined her. Elias watched that moment, the way Emma held them, the way the girls clung to her, the way the house felt less empty with her in it. Mrs. Bishop noticed it too. She shot Elias a look that said, Do not lose this woman. A sudden knock shattered the room's quiet. A single, sharp knock. Not frantic, not polite. Something in between, like someone testing the door just to see who jumped. Emma felt the girls tense. She kept her hands gently on their shoulders. Elias stepped toward the entryway, pulse steady but eyes alert. Mrs. Bishop moved to stand beside him. She wasn't letting him handle anything alone. Emma rose slowly, keeping the girls behind her. The knock came again, this time slower. Elias reached for the latch, then paused and looked back at Emma. You stay with them, he said softly. Emma nodded. He opened the door, and standing there in the half-dark, hat in hand, face unreadable, was Jacob's son, a boy barely 20. Breathless, shaken, worried. Mr. Remington, he said, voice cracking. It's my pa. He ain't thinking straight. He rode off toward the ridge, and he swallowed hard. I think he's fixin' to do something stupid. Jacob's son stood in the doorway, chest rising and falling too fast. Elias didn't waste breath on anger. He stepped forward. What did he do? Elias asked. The young man swallowed hard. He grabbed his rifle and kept saying, You took something that wasn't yours. I tried to stop him, but he's stronger than me when he drinks. Emma felt the girls press against her side, trembling. She kept her voice low, steady. Where did he go? Up the ridge, the son said. I think he aims to confront you. Maybe worse. I came to warn you before anything happens. Elias's jaw tightened, not in fear, but in resolve. Thank you for telling me. The boy blinked, surprised. You're not mad at me? It's not your fault your pa lost his way. Elias said. You did right coming here. Emma stepped forward. What do we do now? Mrs. Bishop answered first. You don't go after a drunk man in the dark. That's how people get hurt. Elias nodded. She's right. We stay inside. Keep the lamps low. He'll cool off or wear himself out before morning. But the boy shook his head. You don't get it. He ain't cooling off. He's talking like a man who thinks he ain't got nothing to lose. Emma placed a hand on Elias's arm. Her touch wasn't soft. It was grounding. "You're not going out there alone," she said. He met her eyes. Something passed between them, an understanding deeper than anything spoken. Emma continued, voice calm but firm. "You have 2 girls who need their father, and a ranch that needs you alive. Jacob is not your responsibility tonight." The boy's shoulders sagged with guilt. "I'm sorry. I should have stopped him." Emma stepped close to him. "You did the bravest thing. You asked for help. That matters." Tears burned in the young man's eyes, but he nodded. Elias put a hand on his shoulder. "You can sleep in the barn. You shouldn't be on the road alone tonight." The boy agreed quietly. When the door finally closed, the room felt full of unspoken truths. Emma turned to Elias. "He may come back tomorrow, or the next day. Jacob's anger won't vanish overnight." Elias looked at her, really looked. "That's why I asked you that question the moment you arrived," he said softly. "I wasn't looking for someone to cook or clean. I was looking for someone who could stand beside me when life turns mean." Emma's breath caught, not because of the words, but because they were honest. She stepped closer. "And you think I'm that person?" He didn't hesitate. "I know you are." Grace and Lily appeared in the doorway, sleepy and scared. Emma knelt and opened her arms. Both girls rushed into her embrace like they already belonged there. Elias watched, and something in his face finally eased. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. "If you want to stay, this can be your home." Emma looked up at him. "I didn't walk all this way to leave," she said. "I stay." The girls hugged her tighter. Elias exhaled a long, relieved breath. Outside, the wind softened. Inside, for first time in years, the Remington house felt whole. And that's how a wandering woman, a worn-out rancher, and 2 little girls found something they didn't expect. Not just safety, not just help, but family. Life on the frontier never gets quiet, but sometimes it gives you exactly who you were praying for. If you want part 2 of their new life together, new challenges, and deeper love, just tell me below.